Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coaches Collaborative Corner. Today, I'm excited to introduce Elisa Xander of Elisa Xander Wellness and let you know that we met way back in 2013 at the RRCA Running Coach certification course. And since then, Elisa's gone on to create a specific niche practice that includes Ayurvedic lifestyle coaching as well as yoga health coaching. So I'm really excited to have Elisa here today to talk to you about Ayurveda and how she uses it with her clients. Thank you so much for being here today, Elisa. It's great to have you.
Well, thanks for having me, Lorna. I'm really excited to be here too. And when you said 2013, that really kind of shocked me. I can't believe it's been that long since we did that class.
I know.
Yeah, it was a great course, and I actually tie in a lot of the running because it's so much a part of my life into my health coaching as well, even if it's just for example. So I don't necessarily make my Ayurvedic coaching members do any type of running, but I think running is a great metaphor for life. So I share some of that experience as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I have to agree with that. So I know almost nothing about Ayurveda, which is why I'm so excited because I know I'm going to learn a lot today as well. So I'm just going to hand it over to you and have you explain what Ayurveda is.
Okay, great. Well, Ayurveda is basically the sister science of yoga. So they both yoga and Ayurveda go back thousands of years. And yoga is, kind of the physical manifestation of a lot of the things that we do, the physical practices. And Ayurveda gets carried into a lot of yoga as well. And basically, the translation of Ayurveda is science of life. So it's really about starting to understand yourself as a whole being. And that's, one of the things that really drew me to Ayurveda is because it looks at you as a whole being, as opposed to, I have this symptom or I have that disease. It looks at, all of you as one. And rather than trying to put a Band-Aid on this symptom or, give you a pill for, your acid indigestion, and then, you take that pill and it causes something else. And now you have to take another pill and another one. And so it takes a whole view and looks at what's causing what you're dealing with as opposed to what's the symptom that you're dealing with. So I love that. And it's also really just about creating balance and creating balance in the sense of that we are part of nature. We've gotten away from that that sensibility in a lot of ways because we live in houses, we drive cars, we have electric lights, we have all these comforts. But just because we have these things doesn't mean that we've been removed from nature. We haven't evolved to the point where our bodies have changed so much that we don't still have those, that same connection. And what happens is we've gotten, for a lot of us, really out of balance by trying to change the times that we eat or move our bodies or different things like that. And really, once we create that connection back again with the sun, with nature, we find ourselves oftentimes feeling a lot better. We can create more of that balance. And so, one of the things that I help my clients with is like looking at, the times of day that we, eat, eat our meals or move our bodies, when we go to bed, when we get up. And these things sound so very simple, but when we try and fight nature, when we're staying up much later than, the sun sets, or we're eating times of the day that aren't optimal for digestion, it shows up in our health. It shows up in so many ways.
That's absolutely fascinating. And I really love the fact that this is so holistic. It really takes the whole person into consideration. That really resonates very strongly with me. So, who are the clients that you see most often, and how are you using these types of interventions with them?
Well, a lot of the people that I see are ones who've tried a lot of other things. They've, tried what they say, I've tried everything, which really, that's kind of almost impossible, but that's, kind of where they feel that they are. And they want a more holistic approach. They want to get away from taking a lot of medications and maybe doing things more naturally. I mean, not saying that they get away from taking everything, because I would never advise that somebody just stop their medication, but they can get to the point sometimes where, with conversation with their physician, that maybe they dial things back. A lot of the people that I work with are about my age, so 50-ish. It could be a few years younger. I've worked with all ages, to be truthful, but I seem to gravitate or have people who are similar to me as far as age group come to work with me. And that oftentimes includes women who are perimenopausal, menopausal, who are starting to see changes in their bodies, and, not just in their bodies, but how they're sleeping, maybe hot flashes, things of that nature. And other approaches aren't working. And when we can kind of have an understanding of where some of these things are coming from, with the doshas, which is a part of what we talk about in Ayurveda. Doshas are 3 different energies. We have a few more tools in our toolbox to approach some of these things, instead of trying to go to taking hormones or just settling for these things. And that's really like one of the big things, is because people feel like they have to settle for effects of aging, settle for aches and pains, settle for some weight gain, settle for irritability or loss of sleep. And really, we don't have to settle for those things. And a really interesting thing to me as well is some of my clients who do come to me come because of weight loss. I have a fitness background. I'm a personal trainer, and you mentioned running coach as well. So sometimes they'll come to me purely for the weight side of things, but they start to see that there are lots of other benefits as well. And it's not just about looking good in your bathing suit. I mean, I know here we are in summertime, we want to look good in our shorts or our swimming suit, and it's so much deeper than that.
Absolutely. Wow. So, can you give us any specific examples of an intervention, and or maybe some of the results that you've achieved with some of your clients?
Sure. So one of the things that I really coach across the board is small changes, because sometimes we jump in, we want to change everything overnight. We make the mountain really big, and then it gets too, we get really excited at first. And we have a lot of enthusiasm and motivation, but when that wanes, a lot of times it's easy to give up and to quit. So I really coach on the idea of what one small thing can you do today that can make a difference tomorrow. And I had mentioned the weight loss side of things. So I had a client who came to me, and she's in her early 30s. She came to me mostly because of weight loss. She wanted to work out with me. She started as a yoga student, and we did personal training and things like that. But when she came more to the health coaching side of things, and we talked about the small changes, and we did a few of the things that I mentioned before, as far as looking at when she was eating her meals, when she was going to bed. And specifically, she was staying up really late at night. She would stay up until about midnight or 1 a.m. And when I first mentioned to her about possibly adjusting that bedtime as a really big part of her health in general, and even the weight side of things, which she was looking at, she was very resistant. She laughed at me, and she figured, she's a night owl. There was no way that this was going to change. So we started doing a few things by looking at the night before. So what time was she eating her last meal, and adjusting that. And when I say adjusting it, we did it in small increments. So she was eating maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and we started backing that up in 15-minute increments. But by doing that, she was able to start thinking about going to bed earlier. And again, she did that in 15-minute increments. So it wasn't that she went from going to bed at 1 a.m. to 9 o'clock. She slowly made those adjustments and got it to where she could go to bed around 10:30, which is more around the time that I'd recommend for a whole lot of reasons, for digestion, for rest and repair, and all the benefits that happen to your body overnight. And what she saw was that when she was going to bed earlier, she wasn't waking up rushed and, frantic and, racing out the door with her and her son. She had time to prepare her lunch, which made her more thoughtful for the day, but she also had time for a good breakfast. And all these things had ripple effects. And she started seeing the weight coming off a lot more easily. And she had been struggling with her weight for a long time. And it was really by looking again at her as a whole being and the things that she was doing. And as a side benefit, and I thought this was funny when she told me this, a lot of her coworkers said to her, they asked her what she was doing because she seemed like she was in a much better mood. So it wasn't just how she was looking, it was really how she was interacting, how her day was going. And she admitted that she was a nicer person and easier to be around because of these things. And so without even really, trying, like that wasn't her initial goal, but she had the side benefit of that as well.
Wow. That is so incredible. And so many things, again, are resonating with me here. You and I are both big fans of very small, incremental changes. People will sometimes literally try and eat the whole elephant in one bite. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You have to take these big goals and big things and shrink them down and make them a lot smaller, even smaller than most people think they do, because it's not about biting off great big hunks at one time, but taking small digestible pieces that you can consistently show up every day, day after day for the long run. That's what really works. And again, the whole person approach. I mean, I have the word holistic in my company name, so I'm all about whole person holistic practices. So this is so interesting. I'm really glad that you were able to be here today, Elisa. So I don't want this to go too much longer because I want people to keep tuning in, but at the same time, I definitely think that this is something that is a fabulous approach to coaching. And so, everybody out there, thank you for coming here today. Elisa, thank you. Everybody, if you have any questions for Elisa, her contact information is right here on the screen. So please feel free to jot that down. Watch it again if you need to. And reach out to Elisa if Ayurvedic Ayurvedic is something that you feel might help you achieve your health and wellness goals. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Lorna. I really appreciate the time getting to be here.